Now at noon, decades later, a cold case involving the rape of a 10-year-old girl has finally come full circle. The man who admits to the crime is in his sentencing hearing right now. The victim is a Fort Wayne resident. News Channel 15's Tara Brantley joins us from the Elkhart County Courthouse with details on the case and an exclusive interview with the woman who was raped as a child.
Pat, just moments from now, a man named Robert Quinn will be sentenced for raping the girl back in 1988. He admits to breaking into her home, taking her from her home while she was sleeping, throwing her into his car, and violating her for several hours. This case has been 27 years in the making, and only because of DNA evidence was Quinn found, convicted, and sentenced. The girl, who is now a woman, has never let her identity be known until now. Joining me is Erica Monroe. She has agreed to talk exclusively with News Channel 15 about this ordeal. Erica, thank you for your courage. Thank you. You now live in Fort Wayne. The incident happened in Elkhart. What type of toll has this taken on your life?
It's hard to say in a few words. The toll that it's taken on my life, on my family's life. Our family was irrevocably changed that day, and that's not something that's easy to get over or forget, and it affects your life in ways that you don't even realize that you're being affected. It's on a subconscious level, on the way that you interact with people, with your family. It's something that stays with you.
Why did it take so long to resolve this case?
My case is unique. Typically, when someone is raped or molested, 90% of the victims know their attacker. And in this instance, we didn't know him. No one in my family knows him. He didn't know us. Back in 1988, they didn't have the type of DNA technology that they do now. And it took a vast amount of DNA in order to create a biological profile. And back then, he was never in the system. Unfortunately, he has been charged on several counts with other victims, and I don't know the details of those charges. I don't know if they're similar to mine. I do know that most of the victims were people that he knew, their children. And so it was easy for them to point a finger. I never really got to see his face because my face was covered.
Explain.
When he took me out of the house, he carried me under his arm like a football, and he threw his coat over my head. And the one time that I tried to take the coat off, he punched me so that I wouldn't see his face. And so I never got a very good look at him until, thankfully, he dropped me off, and I walked home about a block from my house. And I looked back over my shoulder to see if he was really leaving. And I could see not so much the details of his face, but he was backlit by a street lamp that was in the corner, and I could see the frame of his body and his hair. And then he took off very quickly because I turned back to look at him. And that was the only time I ever saw him. So it was very unique in the fact that I didn't know him, and there was no one for them to point their fingers to. It wasn't for lack of trying. You know, the police worked diligently to try and find out who it was, but we ran out of leads and the case grew cold.
Now that this has come full circle, how will you move forward with your life?
It's more about, it's not so much about closure for me or justice, because I never believed I would see justice in my lifetime. I believed I'd resigned myself to the fact that I would never know who this man was. And I comforted myself with the fact that when this person died, that he'd have to face God, and at that time receive judgment.
Erica, again, thank you so much for sharing your story.